Let's take a moment, look at the disclaimer. This content is for educational, informational, entertainment purposes only, and nothing should be taken as a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any securities at any time. We're here just to spread the word of how BTA analyzes the market, how we look at the market, but nothing should be taken as a recommendation. This is Rod from BTA, and we are known as the middle traders. Now, this is going to be our second part of our end of day ETF analysis, the ETF, the Major Market Index ETFs. We're looking at the weekly charts here, okay? Now, this is the weekly chart, and we're going to start off with the DIA, okay? Let's start off with the DIA. So here's the weekly chart of DIA, right? And you see it. We held basically that 150-week moving average. The 150-week moving average is right there, okay? That's pretty much the key right now. We held support at the 150-week moving average. Basically, we broke below it and we got back above it. And now we're above this white 4-week moving average. But we got this green the green 8-week moving average right overhead. Okay, so we got above this downward trending white line, which is the 4-week moving average, but we got the green 8-week moving average right overhead. Okay, so we have to be careful. I got my eye on this 8-week moving average. We know that 8-week moving average can act as resistance. We've seen it back over here when we started consolidating for about 10, 15 days, and then it collapsed. So that 8-week green line, that green line on the weekly chart, which is the 8-week moving average, we got to watch that. At least we back above the 4-week. We close back above the 4-week. Now, let's see what happened next week. Okay, we got a short trading week next week because Monday is a holiday for the 4th, right? The market is closed, so we open back up on Tuesday. Well, let's see what happened on Tuesday. Can we get above this down, stay above the 4-week and get back above this downward trending 8-week moving average? Now, you see the volume, okay? The volume here for the week, this is say around 14.8 million, and it was 16.5 the previous week. So it is a little bit less volume this week than last week, but it was a down day. So that's actually a good thing, right? Because if it traded down, a down week, I apologize, a down week. This is a weekly chart. I said down day, down week. Okay, it was a down week, so the volume was less than last week. That's actually a good thing, because if it's a down week and the volume is higher than last week, that would be a distribution week, okay? So the volume was a little less than last week, so we didn't get distribution for the week, all right? But we found support right at the 150 week moving average. Now let's look at the structural chart for the DIA. Well, we got above the support level. We held the support level for the week on the DIA, right? That 304 was the bottom line right here. That 304 we held. We came down, almost touched it to the penny, and then we got back above it, and we stayed above that 306 horizontal support level. So we held support this week right at the 304 and 306 level. We broke below it just a little bit, and we got back above it. But we still below this trend line here, going across the lows, going all the way back to the March 2020 lows. That's where this trend line is coming from, way back to the March 2020 lows. Well, we're still below it. This internal trend line is also coming from way back the March 2020 lows. We're still below it, okay? So we're still below this trend line going across the lows, and we're below this trend line going across the internal trend line, going across that fractal from the inside, okay? So we're still below it, all right? I'm going to be adding another trend line here, going back across from the March 2020 lows across this area here, because that's probably going to become a fractal, but we'll keep an eye on it, okay? So right now, we're holding above the 304 and the 306 level as support for the DIA on the structural chart, and we got to see if we can hold and stay above that 4-week moving average, and then try to get back above the 8-week moving average on our moving average chart right here. Our chart of the moving average line. So now let's go and take a look at the SPY. All right, let's take a look at the SPY and see what's going on with the SPY. Let's bring it down so we can see it. Okay, let's see what's going on with the SPY. Well, pretty much the same thing. We held support. If you notice right here at the 150-week moving average, held support. We couldn't get quite back above the downward trending 4-week moving average, and we held resistance at the downward trending 8-week moving average. So you know what has to happen here. We got to get back above this 4-week moving average, and we got to try to see if we can get above that 8-week moving average that we found resistance almost to the penny this week, at the 8-week moving average, which is trending straight down. Downward trending 8-week. At least we held support at the 150-week this week. That's great. But this was a down week, and the volume was higher than the previous week. So it was more distribution of the SPY this week. It was a distribution week for the SPY. All right. So that's not good. All right. That's not good. That's saying that it was some institutional selling in the SPY this week. We had distribution. Let's look at the structural chart because this is interesting. You know the level that we're talking about with the SPY, that 380 level for the SPY and that 280 level for the Qs, right? Well, you see, we just got back above the 280 level right here. This is the horizontal prior support. Now need to act. Prior support turn to resistance. Now back. Hopefully it can hold that support. Here's a fractal here. We got some other fractals back going back into the later years. But at the end of the day, we held support and we just above it. We closed at 381.24. This horizontal resistance level, support level, is at 380.54. So the 380 level is a long-term weekly support level. Can we stay above it? And you see these internal trend lines here going all the way back to the March 2020 lows. Well, we got rejected to that at that for almost 3 weeks now. So we traded up to it and got rejected for 3 weeks now. All right, so that is a strong trend line going across the low here. This low fractal going all the way back to the March 2020 lows, going across this low fractal here. Also, we got this internal trend line right here going back from the March 2020 lows, okay, inside of here. That's the next one. So we got two trend lines here that we got to get above. But for 3 weeks, we have not been able to do that, okay? So now, let's see what happens. We're going to draw us another trend line going from those March 2020 lows right across here, all right? And that's going to have to act as support for sure. For sure. It's going to have to act as support. All right, so let's see what happened. All right, now let's go and look at the QQQs. All right, the ETF that tracks the NASDAQ 100. Tracks the NASDAQ too, but specifically the NASDAQ 100. Well, you see it. It couldn't hold that 150-week moving average. All right, it opened up above it, but we traded below it. But on the Qs, it doesn't look as great because now we're below the 4-week moving average and below a downward trending 8-week moving average. It was a down week, and you see the volume was higher than the previous week, and it was above average, a distribution week. It's not good for the Qs. That's not good. Okay, so the Qs, the Qs are looking a lot worse. As far as with the moving averages and the volume analysis, the Qs are looking a lot worse than the DIA, right? You see the DIA, at least the 4-week moving average and the 9-week is trending down, but at least it held support at the 150, and we got above the 4-week moving average. And for the SPY, let's go to the SPY. You see the same thing. We got closed right on the 4-week, but at least we held above the 150-week, right? But when you look at the Qs, you see, we couldn't hold the 150 week. You see that? The 150 week moving average right there. And you got the 9 about to cross below it, okay, sitting right on top of it. The 8 week, I'm sorry. On the daily chart, the green line is a 9-day moving average. That's why I keep saying the 9. I apologize, y'all. But look, end of the day, that's the 8-week moving average, right? The green line is 8 week. The white line is the 4 week. Well, we broke below the 150 week, and we below that 4 week and that 8 week, the white and the green moving average, not good. All right, let's look at the structural chart. Let's look at the structural chart real fast. Okay, and you know it's that 280 level that we got our eye on. It needs to hold that support. You see it right here? Okay, this is the 280 level right here. That's support, right? That's support for the QQQs. We broke below it and got right back above it last week and this week. Okay, so we was only able to get below it recently for 1 week. All right, and we getting right back above it. So I took a little nibble when it broke below 280. Okay, and I got out of it at a break even. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't going to hold it over the weekend. It's a long weekend. So I got out of it at break even. So let's see what happened. It didn't stay below this 280 level. This 280 level is key. This 280 level is key. Can it get back below this 280 level? Okay, that's key. That's key. I would have held this. But if I would have had a much more cushion, I would have felt better holding it. Because you see, we still below this downward trending 4-week and 8-week moving average, right? We still below that, okay? And we saw what it looks like on the daily chart. But we got a long weekend, okay? And a lot can happen over the weekend. So I didn't have a big enough cushion. I didn't want to hold it, right? But in any case, what's most important, okay, is that if we go to the daily chart, let's go to the daily chart real quick. Let's jump back down to the daily, okay? In any case, this was my out. I was gone. If it closed back above the 5 and the 9, 283, 284, I think I told y'all that yesterday or the day before yesterday, that was my stop. If it closed back above the 5 week, the 5 day and the 9 day moving average. The 5 day is the white line, and the 9 day is the green line. 283, 284. Close back above that. Adios, amigos. I am gone. You're out of here. Adios. Okay. And if you look at the 284 level right here, 284.94 right there. What's that 5 and that 9? 283, 284. You got this overhead resistance at 284. You got this trend line right here, 284. So I told y'all 284 is the level. I'm definitely gone if it breaks 284. So let's see what happened. Okay, let's go back to the weekly charts. So there it is. That's our level. That 280, we close at 282 right now. That 280 level is the key. All right. If it can hold that 280 level, then we got to see if we can get back above these internal trend lines right here. That's it. We haven't been able to hold those internal trend lines. Remember, those internal trend lines acted as some really good support before it broke. And now we get above it, can't hold it, and we fell. Okay? Can we get above it, stay above it, and then start testing this overhead resistance at 303.50 is the question. That's the question for right now for the Qs. Now, let's go and look at the IWM, the ETF that tracks the Russell 2000, the 2000 small companies, the small guys and girls. Well, you see that big, thick red line? Do you see that big, thick red line right there? March 2020 highs. I know you can't forget it. We're back above it this week. We closed right above it. We closed at 171.41. The March 2020 highs of 169.14. That next fractal is 170.56. Going all the way back to the March 2020 highs. These two horizontal support levels. Well, we held it this week, but we still below this internal trend line right here, going all the way back from the March 2020 lows. We still below it. You see it right there. We still below it. So we got to hold support at these March 2020 highs. Get back above this internal this trend line here, going back from the March 2020 lows right across this fractal, and then see if we could get above this downward trend line right overhead. Well, that's what we're looking at on the IWM, right? That's what we're looking at on IWM. But before all that can happen, look at the moving averages. We're well below the 200-week moving average. You see that? There's no way I'm going to go long the IWM below the 200-week moving average. And you're also below a downward trending 4-week, a downward trending 8-week, and the 200-week. Nothing to talk about. Nothing whatsoever to talk about. All right, look at the Qs with the moving averages. You see it below that 150 week? Nothing to talk about. Okay, these are long-term weekly moving averages. All right. Now let's look at the ITOT real fast. You see it close right on the 150-week moving average. I told you if it break the 150-week moving average, I'm out of here. There's nothing to talk about. That's my overhead support resistance level. That's my stop on the short side of this. But look at the volume for this week. Was a down week. Look how high above average that volume was compared to the previous week. We below a 4-week and we below the 8-week downward trend and 8-week green moving average. We below the 4-week white moving average. We below all of the long-term key moving averages on the weekly chart. And you see the structural chart. Look at it. We below 84.59. This overhead resistance level right here. Okay, price support. We right at it. Well, I shouldn't say we below it. We right at it. They're right at the support. 84.59. This horizontal resistance area. We close at 84.63. Right above that is another horizontal resistance area, 86.05. We have to be careful. Okay, the weekly levels are right there. Those weekly moving averages, weekly resistance levels are right overhead. And if you look at the weekly chart for the ITOT, look at the volume. It's nowhere to be found. Okay, the volume is nowhere to be found. Let's look at the DIA. Look at the volume. Look at the on-balance volume, straight down. Accumulation distribution, straight down. Price volume trend, straight down. You see it, okay? Let's look at the SPY. It's the same thing, okay? Here's the SPY. Look at the on-balance volume. Look at the on-balance volume, straight down. Accumulation distribution, straight down. Price volume trend, straight down. The volume trend is down. There is no volume coming in on the weekly chart, okay? Our line analysis of volume is telling you that. Look at the QQQ, same thing. The volume is straight down. You see it. The volume is straight down. Be careful. The momentum, the acceleration, the volume, the trend is down. See you in the next video.